Hello, everybody. It is me, the one and only, controversial, non-politically correct, step on your toes, say whatever comes to my mind, and don't hide behind the bushes, Pacific. I think it's time for us to get into a subject that all of us can resonate with. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian. It matters more so if you're a Christian because we can get a better understanding of the answer to the why. If you're an atheist, you might ask why, but the other part of that is why God, and they leave the God part out, and they will never get the answers. Evolution can't answer it. But we, who have the word of truth, the Bible, and the things God has revealed about himself to us, can get closer to unpacking the question that every single one of us ask, and that's why, God? We go through something. We go through something that is not fun, not pleasant, and everybody has a different unpleasantry come into their life. And I could name a bunch of things. You could be a coworker that you cannot stand who is always trying to get you, cause trouble for you. And you're like, man, I do my job, I mind my own business, and this person is like Woody Woodpecker. It could be your spouse. It could be your own children. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. I have not come to bring peace, I have come to bring a sword, Jesus said. I'm going to quote some things my pastor said today. I'm going to put my own 2 cents into this, and I'm going to quote from scriptures. But let's start off with something, and I might have to ditch my phone because it's Sunday and everybody's going to want to get a hold of me. And one of my friends got baptized. I'll tell you now, and I'll text you later. Congratulations, Pyramid Head. Nice job. Another saint saying he's following Jesus in the waters of baptism. That's awesome. You've all heard of Comfort Inn in the United States, right? Kind of like Super 8, Ramada Inn, Motel 6. I'll leave the light on for you. You want to know what the biggest problem in America is more than anything else? I'm sure everybody would have an answer. Well, we're godless. We're this. I mean, the feminists would have an answer. The gays would have an answer. Everybody would have an answer. But I'll tell you what the biggest problem with us more than any other country in the world is that we have made a God out of comfort. The comfort God. And we're going to talk about that because this really conflicts with the very reality that the Bible says man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward. That's what it says in the Bible. And the fact is, we are born to trouble. When Adam and Eve sinned and ate the fruit, we brought sin. We brought a curse to the hard drive of creation. The animal kingdom suffers because of our sin. God said it. I'll put animals, they'll be afraid of you and you'll be afraid of them. That's why when I go into the yard and the squirrel's walking around and sees me, go, they don't want nothing to do with me. Not unless you tame it and work with it and tame it and work with it and feed it and build up that thing's confidence. Go up and try to tame a grizzly bear and see how far you get with that. Go up and give a great white shark a hug out off the Great Barrier Reef in Australia and get back to me and tell me if that was successful. There's fear. And it's all through creation. We live in a funny age today. We live in an age where women are always licking their wounds and crying about, my self-esteem has been damaged. And I'm like, actually, you're damaging more people's self-esteem than you've had done to you, lady. And we're not going to get into that right now. But everybody's a victim today. But honestly, when we sinned, we created our own neurosis. I mean, but look at this. I mean, this is pretty. We read the Bible and think, the Bible's archaic and it's out of date and it's just a bunch of fables and a bunch of campfire stories handed around for 1,000 years. Really? Yeah, I've heard that. Campfire stories, huh? Verse 7, Genesis 3, then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loin coverings. Who told them they were naked? Nobody. All of a sudden, ooh, got to cover this up. You notice when man sins, it's amazing to watch what people do when they're caught running around in the yard with their underwear on. It's amazing when I'm driving in traffic and people are speeding and tearing around me, no turn signals. I'll tap the horn, and they're like, ha ha. And then you go up a block later and there's a cop, and all of a sudden you see their brake lights go on, and I'm passing them because I'm maintaining 30, and now they're going to be righteous and go 5 under the posted speed limit. And I'm like, you bunch of hypocrites. Guilt does funny things to people. It's like, if you feel that you're right in driving that way, why don't you continue to display that in front of the police officer? I rest my case. I'm going to say it again, that in America, people who drive, if they think that they're not sinful, and they think they're going to get to heaven on their own merit, they just need to look at their own driving and see that God's going to hang them just on that alone. Because if you break one of the commands of God, you've broken all of them. And the fact is, it says that your conscience excuses or condemns you. When the cop shows up, ooh, guilt, ooh, slow down, slow down. How come you don't do that when he's not there? And yet God sees what you're doing all the time. But God doesn't come down and write you a ticket and pull you over. He lets you live your life. In fact, one of the biggest problems with the fact of suffering is much suffering that we go through can be brought onto us by other people, and we had nothing to do with it. Case in point, mother coming back from a PTA meeting, and her kid's in a school function, drives her old station wagon. I remember this 70s hearing this. Stops at a stop sign, goes to go, and a drunk goes, kid's dead, she's paralyzed, drunk driver walks away. That really chaps my butt. That's the one you want to see paralyzed or dead. But no, we know that in America it's usually the bad guy that gets off every day. I can tell you that watching out the windshield of my bus every day, that the goons, the dorks, the spackies, the idiots on the road get away with murder all day long. They go home and they're all full of arrogance, and they've cut off 29 people speeding, rolled through stop signs, and they think because they didn't get a ticket that they did a good job today. We're going to have the last laugh, folks, because when they stand before God, they're going to give an account to that entire day and every other day of all their stupid activities. And that goes for all of us. Pacific could walk out today, get in his truck, and get hit by somebody running a stop sign, and I could be killed. Where's the justice in that? We're not going to get into unpacking the sovereignty of God. People who call themselves Calvinists want to argue that back and forth, and they're twisted, absolute blasphemous view. And it's blasphemy to me because, and I'll define blasphemy in this context. Blasphemy is attributing a capriciousness to God, and God is not capricious. God is good. God is benevolent. God is full of grace and mercy, and he is a God of justice. But God is not a drama king. God doesn't operate the way we, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. The problem comes into being is that C.S. Lewis said that in order for us to really love somebody, we have to be deeply hurt by that person first. Think about it. Think about why 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Think about why we, in the dating process, how we go about the whole dating process the wrong way. This is how most men are today. Oh yeah, I got a BMW and I work for a Fortune 500 company and I got investment portfolios and yeah, I'm doing pretty good. And the girl says, wow, he's such a stud. Until she lives with the guy. Picks his butt, picks his nose, leaves his filthy skid-stained underwear on a leather sofa, treats her like a piece of property and crap. Or vice versa. How about all these high-maintenance pretty women? Have you ever, any of you on my channel, ever been with a high-maintenance, good-looking woman, the kind that would grace a woman's magazine in the U.S. Can I say most of my viewers haven't? Can I tell you that they are not relational material, 99% of them? And why is that? Because they're stuck on themselves, because they know they're good looking, but they never matured in something called this, and they have no inner character. Sure, they have a job. Sure, they pull down a good income. Sure, they got college, and they got a dog, and they go to Starbucks, and they got an SUV. But I'll tell you what, most of the people in this country are living on fluff, and the first disaster that hits this country, the outbreak of a world war, say an invading big country comes after us and starts blowing up our downtowns and striking our airports and cutting off our communications and transportation. I'll tell you what, you'll see all these high-maintenance women coming apart at the seams, including the spacky corporate guys like little babies that think they're tough in their Range Rover with their hand draped over the steering wheel, cutting everybody off, and cocky. These guys couldn't handle a war because they're not soldiers. The sad thing is, it's only our military that's a line of defense in this country. But honestly, behind all of that, the only reason we haven't gotten swatted like a fly is because of God. And it's not because we're pleasing to him as a nation. It's not because we're better than other nations. It's not because we're less pagan. Let me say something right now, and you're going to say, what does this have to do with suffering? I'm getting there. The longer God withholds his judgment, the more severe it's going to be when it finally comes. And I'm telling you, that's a fact. All the grace he's given us, the licentiousness that goes on in our culture, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. God's letting us just reel ourselves in all by ourselves. I wrote myself a couple notes. Rabbi Kushner, obviously Jewish, godless, doesn't know Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, says he had a book, why bad things happen to good people. And it was a documentary on Job. I remember I got into a big brouhaha with my aunt, who was a born-again Christian who accepted so much false theology poppycock that I found that I could have less good conversation with her than I could with an unbeliever. I've learned as I got older, I'd rather deal with somebody who has no slate written on than one who does. And the problem with American women and talking to them is they've got all this junk in their head. Women that have this belief they're a prophetess, women that have this belief that they're an authority over men, even though the scripture says no. I would rather deal with a Chinese woman who's in a pagan culture, who God is stirring on her heart to bow her heart and knee to Jesus Christ, and deal with an American Christian woman who's already got all these silly notions in her head. And I was thinking about something else today, and yes, I'm taking a slam on Easter and Christmas and the holidays because they're pagan to the core. Do you know that it's the women who cling to that more than the men? Now, don't get me wrong, there's men that like Santa Claus and Christmas trees and playing all that part. But I find more men are open to me talking about the pagan connection of the holidays, and women will not hear it. Excuse me. Women, if preachers were to stand up and grow a pair and start preaching the truth about the holidays, the women would not submit to that. And I've learned something in most churches. Pastors are not going to offend the women. They're just not going to do it. In our society, I don't think that most Christian women would be open to a discussion that you really shouldn't be participating in Christ Mass, and you shouldn't be participating in Esther, which is Easter, which is all paganism. Even some of my own female fans that I love and adore still tenaciously hold on to their Christmas trees, hold on to their stuff. I let the Holy Spirit deal with them because all I can do is speak. and they're my friends, I'm not going to say, oh, you have an Asherah pole in your house, I'm not going to talk to you. Because as I get older, I am starting to realize nobody has it all together. There are those that think they do, and there are those that know they don't. And the ones that think they do are ignorant. Rabbi Kushner says, why bad things happen to good people? First of all, the book shouldn't be written because it should start with this premise. Let me get it so I have it in its entirety. As it is written, there is no one righteous, no, not even one, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. That pretty much eradicates the notion that people are good, right? But, you talk to most Americans, oh, he's a good guy. What do they mean by good? Because he keeps his front yard clean, waxes his truck, has a successful job. That is not the definition of good. Just because you lived a good life and you got college degrees and your whole neighborhood thinks you're popular and you're a hot-looking woman and you got a GQ husband, that does not mean you're good. There's only one good, and that's God. And yet we as Christians fall into a dangerous trap because we put God on trial the minute we go through something that we don't like. Bear with me, because I'm speaking truth. I've done it. I did it last week. God, why do you allow this madness with my ex and my son to go on and on and on? You can stop this. You just answered your own question, Pacific. I imagine Kazoo going, hello, dum-dum. You earthlings are so stupid. The fact that God can do something about it, and he doesn't, I just answered my own question as to why. Because God is doing something through the situation. The sad thing is humans want to sit there and psychoanalyze this to death. Well, maybe you've sinned. Maybe you've done something wrong to your son, and God's going to drag it out of you and make you repent. Repent of what? What I accurately see is an ex-wife who is not doing what she's supposed to do, an ex-wife who's not co-parenting with me, except when it's convenient for her. I see a son in the middle of all this who's 15 going on 16, making choices, using excuses, and being a typical mentally retarded teenager. And son, if you're listening to that, all teenagers are mentally retarded. Sorry, one of these days you will see that. And if you come to a maturing in yourself, you'll see it. Right now, you can't. I'm sorry. I was 15 years old once too, and I was mentally retarded. There is no such thing as good people. We define good by how they are to us. I'm guilty. Oh, he's a good guy. Meaning he's nice to me, he works hard, he does all this, but it's like I need to start choosing my words carefully, saying, I like that individual. He's got some good things about him. That's more accurate. Or I like her. There's some good things about her, but to say she's good. Remember, when God created creation, he saw all that he made and saw that it was good, and you don't hear him say that after the fall. That ought to tell us something. We in America have a certain amount of freedom that most of the world does not enjoy, and we think we're entitled, that we have a right to comfort. A right to comfort when a huge percentage of the world lives on less than $1 a day. When 2 billion people live on less than $1 a day, 1 billion people live on less than $2 a day, something like that. And why do we think that we have more right to comfort, materialism, and a consumeristic society? We think we have a right to comfort. America has a real sense of entitlement today on the roads, at the stores. Remember in the 80s, the Cabbage Patch dolls? I'm going to say it, those stupid dolls, somebody sewed something together and it looks like they were punched in the face. And it's all, yeah. People were punching each other over those dolls. Adults, not children. We're talking about suffering. And I'm going to make a very strong point. The people that cause me the most trouble on the roads out there, the people that are the rudest, the most insensitive, the most discourteous, are two kinds of people. The scumbag, gangbanging, ghetto punk mentality. The fat, obese women. And the comfortably affluent. What do those two groups have in common? Both of them are very comfortable, believe it or not. I can point to Audis, Beamers, Lexus, Mercedes, Range Rovers, all those expensive upper-end cars. 99% of the time, no turn signal, speeding, cut me off, run my school bus stop sign, and it's women that are my age and older doing that, and men with suits and ties. This is a professional that goes into his law firm and will carry a good act, but when he gets into his car, he is a real SHIT head. Why is that? I have learned by watching experientially that the more comfortable a group of people are, the worse they start acting, the worse they start behaving, the more they start becoming entitled. Oh, that bus is in my way. Babyish, immature, toddler-like when they drive their car. When I see people jerk from one lane to the other with no turn signal, it's like it reminds me of a toddler grabbing a toy from another, or a kid reaching to touch it. No, mine. And I see that, and I think adults are no different than toddlers. Adults are no different than romper room, and you really see this flesh out in driving. Or the guy in the suit and tie that's going to haul butt around me, jerk from one lane to the other, and I get up to the light, and there he is, and I just look at him, and I just stare. It's like, you're a real brainiac, dude. You're right there at the red light. You did all that stupid driving. And I really see that in Denver. I said that to somebody. I said, Denver is very head of the pin mentality, that people's biggest thrill for the day is to beat one other vehicle to the red light. We're not even going to talk about the wasted gas and acceleration, the wear and tear on the brakes, running your stress level up, and running the risk of a cop seeing you do that, ticketing you. They don't think about that. And these are the ones that think they're cool, they're smart, they're in the popular jet set, and you just look at them and go, you're retarded. Obesity is another spin-off of a very comfortable society. People are getting fatter, people are justifying it. There's even a song, you know, I'm all about that bass, no trouble, talking about big butts, big booties. There's even songs in comfort for the fat people. Don't let anybody judge you. If you can't accept me because I'm a little bit chunky, move on, I will. But it doesn't stop there. I don't harass overweight people. I don't like obesity, but I don't go and say, hey, you fatty, eat a salad. I don't do that. But they sure give me crap. Fat people say, boy, you're skinny, you're scrawny. I'm not scrawny at all. My bones aren't sticking out. And they'll put us down. It's like now they're getting revenge and making fun of those of us that are in shape. And they'll secretly hate us. The more comfortable people are, the more bad habits they fall into. The more bad habits they fall into, the further they walk away from God's standard of holiness, self-discipline, self-respect. And I'm not talking about the kind of self-respect that's selfish, but the kind of respect that says, you know what, when I look in the mirror and I got all those bags of flesh hanging off me, that's gross, and I'm tired of looking at that. Trust me, God is too. And I'm going to say something. There's a move all through this country that God loves me just as I am. We need to be very careful about that. Does God love it if you're practicing homosexuality, pedophilia, setting fires, carjacking? Does he love obesity? Does God look at a woman and say, oh, she's such a beautiful, godly woman. I love that body on her? No, I don't think so. God is not concerned about looks. We know that, but God is concerned about the temple that his Spirit lives in. We need to take care of what he's given us. We're all different shapes and sizes, and not everybody can be Barbie thin. Not everybody has a metabolism like me, and I take all that into account. But I see a lot of women who are grossly overweight that they're just not pretty. I look at women that I know that are overweight. They lift up their big fat arm, and you see their armpit with all this hair, and you smell their butt when they sit down by you, and you think, geez, are you showering? And you look at their hygiene or lack thereof, and you go, I am out of here, not sitting at this table. Americans live like they're on the Titanic. We're in the ballroom, the music's nice. We forget that there's an entire ocean surrounding us, and there's an entire world of need out there. And meanwhile, there's dire poverty, persecution, and horrid things going across the ocean. Americans live like they're on the Titanic and could care less. The pastor today said, this is exact words. He says, we run out of gas in our car. We don't have enough money to go to Starbucks for the day, and we think that that's trials. He said, have you seen what ISIS is doing to Christians? Do you know what's going on the other side of the world? And I thought, preach it, brother. I wrote down some things. Some of these are quotes from the pastor. We have stinky diapers. This is talking about Christians. We have stinky diapers, and sometimes Jesus needs to change them. I love that, because I often use a saying, diapered saints. But if we're all honest, we all have immaturity in us. We all poop our pants, and God has to say, you have a poopy bottom, and it stinks. God brings trials into our life to mature us, and we don't like to talk about that because we avoid suffering like the plague. We hate it. We don't like it. And when we're going through something, we want to whine to as many people as we can about it. Or we get angry at God, and I hear this a lot, especially when I see people deliberately doing things that are so wrong, and then they turn around, how could God allow this to happen? You did that. Would it shock my viewers if I said God brings trials into our life because he cares? Yeah. Do you know that rejoicing in our trials brings us closer to him? The joy of the Lord is my strength. And what is the first thing I do when something excruciating comes across Pacific? Whining, fussing, begging God to intervene, begging God to do something when he doesn't. Because we didn't get the response we thought God should give. We get mad at him. We pout, fold our arms across our chest, and say, wow, God, you're not very good to me. And we put him on the trial. We put him on the stand. As if we have the right to judge the judge. The reason I'm talking about this stuff is because I need to look at my own life and say, God is not content with just leaving us alone. He brings stuff into our lives. We may not always know the exact why of it all, but it's honestly to mold us, to learn us perseverance, to mature us, so that we can become more conformed to his image. God cares less about our comfort. He cares more about our character. And can I be honest? We got a lot of churches in the U.S. preaching comfort. Joel Osteen, Rick Warren, I'm going to say it, Charles Stanley. I like a lot of what Stanley says, but a lot of his sermons are just kind of comfortable. Max Lucado writes his fireside chat books. And all of these guys are pulling in big money. They don't go through suffering like the rest of us blue-collar class. And you just stand there and shake your head and go, what kind of a God are these ministers really promoting and following? Excuse me. Never fails when I have something important to say. All this stuff acts up. And for those of you saying you ought to take this and take this, I will not take allergy meds and all that because this isn't all the time. It has its moments where there's no problem. And I'm not going to take medication because it doesn't usually work anyway. I took Benadryl years ago and it makes me go to sleep. Here's something I want to say to every one of us that can give us some perspective about suffering. Pastor said this, so it's not my own quote. We live in a broken world with broken people making broken choices. That caused me to hook up a semi-trailer of thought to that locomotive or that engine and say, if this is true, which it is, if somebody's broken, living in a broken world, making broken choices, that person's going to affect my son. And because my son is broken and lives in a broken world, his mother, who's making broken choices, is affecting him. And if you notice something that goes on in this world is that we can have something very powerfully positive hit us in a day, and we don't think about that as much as that one little stupid thing that set us off and got us angry. If you don't believe me, take a look at this. You go through your day, your work day was good, everything was good, but then somebody cuts you off in rush hour, and that's the first and foremost thing on your mind. Oh, that person cut me off. And it is amazing how we just go and gravitate towards that one bad thing. But if we're broken people, that means Pacific has made broken choices. I was just talking about some of the women I loved in Hong Kong, and they told me, I'm leaving. We shouldn't make love. Yes, I know as a Christian I shouldn't have done it, but nonetheless, I did it. I'm broken. No, I want to be involved with you. I want to be loved by you. I know you're leaving. That's the chance I'll take. They took the chance, and in the end, it was bitter gall for them. Pacific loved them. Pacific left. And they're alone, and I'm not there. And I'm not riding in on the stallion, rescuing them from their life of hardness and servitude. And this is where we all go wrong. When we look to people to be our Messiah. We look to people to be our deliverer. Now, do not, women, misconstrue that. And I attack women because women say, well, you shouldn't look for a wife. You should make God your all in all. The Bible says, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make a helpmeet suitable for him. There's nothing wrong with a man desiring a helpmeet. This idea that we're supposed to be so spiritually pious. Well, if God doesn't choose for me to have a wife, I'll just accept that. You know what? That doesn't work. Let's be real here. If you're so spiritual, then you should stop eating and should stop driving your car, and you should just, you don't need all those creature comforts. You sure don't need a house full of stuff, and you should stop going to Starbucks, and you should definitely stop participating in Christmas. And, if God is your all in all, why do you have 3 dogs? And you go on and on about your dogs. I mean, you see where I'm going with this? If you want to tell men they don't need a woman, shouldn't focus on a woman, then you shouldn't focus on your dogs, your Starbucks, your SUV, your house full of stuff, and your comfort zone. Hello? Women are funny the way they like to tell us men how to be so spiritual, but then you look at their own and do an inventory on their life, and they're bankrupt as hell. I have yet to meet a godly woman in America. You ready for that? I have yet to meet what I would call a godly woman, meaning one that I would take my hat off to and drop to my knees on the floor and say, wow, here's a woman who really loves God, who really follows him. What I find is very self-righteous or very carnal. And self-righteousness is a form of carnality too. Make no mistake about it. I'm going to hold up somebody, and I'm not going to mention her name because I don't want to draw undue attention to her because she is on my Facebook. A woman who works 6 days a week as a domestic helper and has worked for the same Chinese woman for something like 20 plus years. That means that Chinese woman likes her. That this woman I'm talking about is worth her salt as a worker. She follows Jesus Christ. She turned 66 the other day, or 62. Her one day off isn't going to Maurice's in Videoke. It isn't going to the bar. It isn't going to the mall. It isn't going to IFC Mall. It isn't sitting around with all the Filipina girls giggling under an overbridge. She goes to church, goes to service, teaches the younger women, and spends all day in the church. Can I tell you, I'm rebuked by that? Because I'll tell you what, I think, I want to go to church. We want an hour of church, and we want to get out the door and go on with our day. And we'll eat 3 square meals a day, but we'll take 1 day of church a week, and we think that, okay, I'm feeding my body, and you see women caught up in the workout thing and eating organic and eating this, but those same women will spend absolute 0 time investing in the spiritual side and feeding the spirit. Unbelievers could care less about spiritual nutrition. But unfortunately, most girls and guys today in American evangelical circles spend very little thought towards spiritual nutrition. They'll work out. They'll have a membership at 24 Fitness. They'll buy their coffee imported from Ecuador, Starbucks, Golden Label coffee, whatever. And that's all important to them. And we wonder why we're at a big deficit. We wonder why our morals are corroding, collapsing. We wonder why children are looking adults in the eye and saying, and doing it with not a shred of fear. And yet this just spins and it gets worse and worse and worse. Every year we are a self-centered, completely self-centered nation. And I wrote this down. What did I do with it? Fell somewhere here. Right there. Let's talk about America. We talk about how great of a nation we are, but let's talk about America. Let's talk about primetime television. Let's talk about America in general. Right now, today, 2015. America promotes selfishness, looking out for number one. You deserve a break today. Do it my way, right away. It promotes self-indulgence, promotes consumerism of the highest order, and creates a complete atmosphere of discontentment. It teaches us to spend, spend, spend. I watched a girl at work this week who earns a pittance as a bus aide, 9-something an hour, not 40 hours a week. She's calling to see how much credit she can get so she can get in debt for a car. And I said, if I was you, I wouldn't get in debt for a car right now. Undeterred, she continued to call, found out she has to have a cosigner, and her own sister said, don't look at me. And I thought I wouldn't co-sign for her. 20-something years old. Why don't you save money every month, put money in the bank, get cash, and go buy a $5,000. You can buy a $5,000 decent used car. Doesn't have to be brought in the shop and all the stuff done to it. You're going to get in debt and have a car payment, and you're going to end up paying more in interest than you actually value the car. Our world, our secular world system in America is not going to promote self-control. It is not going to promote contentment with just the simple things like food and clothing. Look at even social media and Facebook and all the sites. They're constantly, do this, let your friends know this, add this, where. It's like, boy, it's just designed to keep you coming and going. What does this have to do with why God? Well, you throw all this into the big cauldron of stew. Actually, let's do this. Yeah, stir that baby up. Then people make their choices. We as Christians get saved, and the first mistake we make, and we've all done it, somebody cuts us off. Oh, God, we're first Christian. God, get him. Bring that bolt of lightning down and strike his car, and it doesn't happen. And we go through life, and worse stuff than somebody cutting us off happens. God, get him. Deal with mine enemies. And it doesn't happen. My ex-wife is continuing to drill holes in the boat. And we're not going to talk about that. We don't want to beat that dead horse. We're going to talk about it in the context that last week I said, God, why do you allow her to continue in this madness? she'll turn around and say, my ex-husband isn't backing me. And then when I come down and do the hard thing, she goes on silent mode for 2 weeks, and I don't hear anything. And I'm going to bring this up Tuesday in the counseling and say, you know what? Here's an example of what happened this week, and it really angers me. That phone needs to be taken away. And I have the right to say that because he's communicating with his friends, saying all this crap about his dad. All they're doing is firing up and making threats and getting on their Facebook and making butt and penis jokes and threat jokes. And I don't want my son connected to these adults. Probation officer doesn't want him hanging around. And we need to cut this off. She didn't answer me, still hasn't answered me. Why? Because she's comfortable. And until there's another crisis, then she'll bother me, and I'm going to come back and say, did you answer my question about whether you took the phone away? And I will do that this Tuesday in front of the counselor, in front of my son, and say, I am unable to co-parent when I got this funky thing going on where you're permissive with our son, and then you're unpermissive with our son, and then you blame me. This has got to stop, or I'm out, because I'm not going to play this. And I said, God, why do you allow her, claiming to be a born-again Christian, do this? Why do you allow my son to curse me, to curse her? She brought that on herself, but to talk like this and you don't intervene. Well, why did he let Adolf Hitler do what he did and Mussolini and Saddam Hussein? Saddam Hussein, one of his wives was interviewed and she said he wouldn't be able to relax and he would like watching public executions that made him relax. That is a sick individual. Watching somebody die would not be relaxing for me. I don't want to see it. Maybe because I still have a conscience, thank you, God. You know, the unbelieving world doesn't get it at all. They can't even scratch the surface of their epidermis and get an answer. Because they don't know God. And they see some bad happen. How could God allow this to? You don't even know God. You don't have a relationship with him. Don't question him. You're fortunate that God in his grace lets you live and go extort and steal and lie to the IRS and drive like an a-hole down I-25 to the tech center and lets you have all the temporal blessings while you just crap all over society and you sit there and say, why did God let this happen? You gotta be kidding. How come God didn't come down and go and swat you from one end of the planet to the other? They never ask that, do they? And those same people don't thank God that he protected them in spite of their own foolish, stupid driving. That their wife that they're living with didn't come in and plunge a knife into his back when she found out he was having an affair in Corporateville. Yeah, maybe you ought to start rethinking about how you look at God, Spacky, because you may know corporate, but you don't know a thing about theology. Yeah, and that goes for a lot of Christians that are in the corporate setting as well. You may be good at this. Leave the theology to the rest of us, thank you. But I like what the pastor says. Who are we to judge the judge? Can I be honest? Even Pacific gets too big for his britches. Come in this closet before and I've yelled, God, why are you doing this? It's insane, insane, insane. And God says, and I say, you can stop it, you can stop it. And boom, I stop yelling and start going, there you go. There you go. Work this through, Pacific. He could stop it, but he isn't. Why is he not stopping it? Do we analyze this under a microscope, put in a petri dish, and do experiments? No. You say, you know, God, I don't know why you're not intervening in this. But I believe you're good, and I believe you see what she's doing, and you see what he's doing, and you're allowing this for some reason. Is it to judge me? Is it to discipline me? Not necessarily. I don't feel that I've done anything wrong in the context of what's going on. I believe she's definitely out of line. I believe my son's out of line. And it's like, why do I got to be dragged into this garbage? Because I need perseverance and maturity in my life. Remember, November, I was going to get out of here. Thanksgiving weekend, I was going to put that top of my truck, pull it in the backyard, load it up, and disappear that day. And leave town. And it was Venus Star that said, don't do it. I even argued with her. I said, and why not? Found myself getting upset with her. There's a lot we could talk about on this issue. Why doesn't an omnipotent God permit bad things to happen? Jesus says in John 16:33, these things I have spoken to you so that in me you may have peace in the world. You have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. Can I be honest? Sometimes I get upset at God and I get mad. It's like, boy, you really like suffering, don't you, God? Because you're not the one that has to suffer. You're sitting up there look, I'm going to cross a line here with some of my viewers. I can't believe you said that. Well, I might as well admit it because I've done it. I'm like, yeah, you sit on your nice little throne up there and you can just sit there and go, ooh, suffering's good for you. Yeah, it's really good for you when you're sitting up there in glory. You know what? Suffering shows us the rebellion that is in our own heart. Suffering shows us the real us, and we don't want to admit it, but deep down inside, we think God is unfair. We think that we have a right to this or that, and even Pacific thinks he's entitled sometimes, and I fail to realize I'm entitled to nothing but hell. Let that sink in. God is not obligated to send his son to die for me and give me eternal life. Why? Just this week, I've been going through the whole thing of, can I be honest? I hate somebody at work. Hate her. She was ousted by another alpha queen, and I'm like, yes. Oh, God, she's out of here, at least temporarily. It is hard to love my enemies, and yet God loved us when we poo on him all the time. I challenge every one of my viewers to tell me that you don't sin once at all in any 24-hour period, and I'll call you a liar and say you just sinned by lying. There is no such thing. Let me read to you. Let me read to you what I read. I posted this on my Facebook the other day. This is good stuff. In all places, this is in Ecclesiastes. I'm really seeing some nuggets of truth that are really encouraging me. It's like, wow. Listen to this. This is out of the book. The Bible. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 20. Indeed, there is not a righteous man on earth who continually does good and who never sins. That's what it says. Not a righteous man who continually does good and doesn't sin. Some of the best people you know in leadership at your church don't think they're not going home, turning on their computer and looking at that image going, oh my gosh, she's hot. You don't know. And if you spend enough time with church leaders, you'll see their humanity and their cracked pots just like the rest of us. So who's qualified to go in ministry? Says his life must be above reproach. Well, you got to define reproach. Somebody could find flaws with every single one of us, and is that reproach? Not necessarily. The Bible gives some guidelines for those that are overseers. Must not be a lover of money, must not have a violent or a, angry temper, must have control of his own household, his wife, his children, that they should be in subjection to him, for if he does not control and rule over his own household, how can he rule the church? Does that mean the pastor never speeds? Shoot. I told you about Cherry Hills Community Church. Now, if they're watching this, or the pastor, I don't even know if the pastor that did this is still on staff, but a woman at the National Western said, oh, my pastor speeds all the time, and a cop pulled him over and says, oh, I was singing the praises to God. Ha, 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 that's funny. Maybe you shouldn't tell people you're into God and you're a pastor at that point. You ought to just oops, I blew it. I wrote him a letter saying, one of your parishioners says that you have a constant habit of speeding, and I'm going to tell you that as a Christian, we got to stop that. And your testimony of what you're doing is getting out in the community, and that's not good. He did not write me back. Why not? because he doesn't want to deal with that. Because in Colorado, I've met Christians that don't think speeding is a sin. Are you ready for that? At the church I went to, the Bob Jones University, the Frozen Chosen Baptist Church, we had a Sunday school teacher said, I'm not convicted about speeding. You're not? Now, the Bible says something about having our conscience seared as with a hot iron. And another person says, I don't think God is really concerned about how we drive. Really? You see what's going on in America? It's the new Dodge. The rules have changed. Remember the old commercials when they come out with the new style of Dodge? Now we see it so much, it's ugly now, but they were really cool when they first came out because they looked like a miniature semi with the little fenders and everything. The new Dodge. The rules have changed. Well, we're in the new America and the rules have changed. Most Christians are running church, getting their Jesus rock and getting their little, what do they call them, sermonettes, the 15-minute, God loves you, God wants you to be good to everybody, oh, thank you, and run out of the church. I'll tell you a story that my friend from Cleveland told me the other day, and he started getting angry when he was telling me. He says, when I was a teenager, I would try to cross the street from the Catholic church. My friend was standing on the other side, and the people coming out of the church parking lot in their SUVs wouldn't even let me cross the street. And then when I stepped out in front of the traffic, they're flipping me off and honking the horn. I said, your own church? He says, my own Catholic church people, when he would go to the Catholic church. There's a problem, and I don't believe Christians or Catholics are Christians anyway. There's some Christians in the Catholic Church, but as a rule, Catholics are not Christians. But a lot of suffering comes just for doing what is right. Take, for instance, Pacific or any number of you that go the speed limit, use your turn signals, make a complete stop at a red light, stop sign before making a right turn, yielding to pedestrians, all that. And people will give you a hard time out on the road for doing that. I have people roar up behind me in the right lane, crowd my bumper, and then they get irritated because I won't speed for them, jerk around me, give me the hairy eyeball as they go by. And I find my flesh going, you son of a poop stain. Broken people in a broken world making broken choices. And it's hard for me. It's like, this book tells me I'm supposed to obey the laws. And you got Christians saying, oh, we don't have to. We're under grace, man. I'm not a legalist, man. God doesn't care how you drive, man. Okay, get on your surfboard and smoke pot for Jesus, man. I'm tired of that crowd. You know what's funny? That Sunday school teacher was called in by the leadership because he smokes a cigar every once in a while, and they told him that that's not befitting a Christian, that was wrong. But the church leadership doesn't call him in for saying it's okay to be speeding in your car. Christians are funny in America. They condemn the things that they don't like or approve of, and they ignore the things that they do like and approve of, and there's nothing wrong with what they like. I love, one of the biggest hypocrisies in America is how you'll go up to a woman and you'll say something, you'll be real forward. Not inappropriate, and they'll look at you like, I can't believe you said that. You're just being honest about something. Those same women will watch violent movies, swearing, profanity, husband and wife cheating on each other on the screen. They'll get in a car, blast through a school zone at 40 when it's 20 with flashing yellow lights. I kid you not. You ought to see the women, the high-maintenance women that blast through school zones. Flashing yellow lights. Can't miss them. I'm in my bus driving, and they can't put two. Here's the flashing light. Here's the school bus. Boom! And I honk. And they turn their head and go on. I've pulled up next to people and said, hey, did you know that was a school zone back there? And they give me this filthy, hateful look. And for me to say some of the politically incorrect things I do, they would have a problem with it. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you sped through a school zone. You could have killed somebody. What is the matter with you? You're a weirdo. The dichotomy and the hypocrisy of our American society, you think God doesn't see this? God, we're heaping for ourselves some pretty serious judgment. Everybody individually and corporately, this country is going to get its butt spanked. more than any other nation on earth. Because we've had so much, to whom much is given, much will be required. We've been given a lot. A lot of my suffering comes from the following. Unbelievers. Unbelievers who don't know God. It says, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. Remember, unbelievers are under the auspices, control, and influence of Satan. That being said, they're not going to like the children of light. And they will come after you. They're in every workplace. They're in every church. They're in every thing in your life. Here's something we don't want to think about. Since everything will be destroyed in this way, what kind of people ought you to be? You ought to live holy and godly lives as you look forward to the day of God and speed. It's coming. That day will bring about the destruction of the heavens by fire, and the elements will melt in the heat. This earth's going to be destroyed, and yet people are caught up in buying more stuff, collecting more stuff, getting in debt to buy more stuff, to have a house. All this stuff is nothing but kindling that you're collecting for that big fire. Your house, your junk, your cars, all your stuff you think is so important is all kindling collecting. I remember a guy just down the street here, his wife, his 3 kids, they wanted to go back to Kentucky. He hated Colorado like I do, and he finally got the chance, got open their doors, put their house up for sale. They were nice people. And he said, I said, wow, you're moving. And he had to get a big moving truck. And he said, yep, I'm just moving the kindling from one place to another. And I said, kindling? He says, it's all going to be burned up anyway. Why are we spending our money on kindling? I went to the thrift store yesterday. I was looking through t-shirts and I saw a couple that I liked, but I thought, you're half-hearted. You don't need it. Don't buy it. I do that with more and more with what I do. I find I can justify going to lunch with somebody because a relationship with an individual and eating and paying for a meal is actually somebody's getting fed. You're having a conversation, and Jesus had meals with his disciples, and I think those were very beautiful times. To eat with somebody means that you accept them at your table. That's a very disarming thing to do. Going to club, going to movies and all that is entertainment and whatever, not necessarily wrong. But eating with somebody, feeding somebody, talking to them, those are good things to do. Buying 29,000 shirts and 50 pairs of shoes and getting in debt to buy a new car because you don't like your old one, to me, is just ridiculous. Your old one runs, it works. Why do you got to get something new? Because you're insecure as hell and you want to make a statement to all your friends that aren't really your friends. Because if your friends are really your friends, they'll accept you whether you drive a Subaru that half the back end is gone from salt-eaten rust. And that's what's happened in our society now. It's about what you drive, what you wear, how much you get in debt for, houses you buy. And I'll tell you what, the older I get, I don't want to be friends with people that are caught up into that. I've been around people that want to show off their house. I've been around a Sunday school teacher at Riverside Baptist Church, no longer goes there. He and his wife were materialistic pigs and piglets. Had a fifth wheel, had a diesel, had a 4-door pickup, had a Cadillac. And they were always talking about our fifth wheel. Oh, gosh. Have you ever seen the way a fifth wheel is built? I have. The walls are that thick. It's a thin metal skin. Everything's plastic. Everything is fake. Everything's junk. And if you drop a match in it, it goes... I've seen them on Nevada highways when they hit a windstorm and they blew like a tumbleweed. And it went... And you spent $100,000 for that. Junk. And what bothers me is we'd go to their house in Highlands Ranch, and they loved it when people complimented them on their home. I thought, this is not a home, this is a house, it's a museum, and they're not embodying really a love and infectious passion for Jesus Christ. And a lot of Christians like to have Bible studies in their home because it's show-off time. Contrast that to a guy who's a pastor at a church in, was it Montgomery, Alabama? Big mega church. And he went over to the underground church in China. 70 people, all blue-collar, hard-working Chinese, crowd into somebody's house under a light bulb hanging by a wire from the ceiling to hear the Word of God. No Christian rock, no stages, no 5-acre parking lot, no coffee shop at the front entrance, rice paddies out the front door, a dingy Chinese house, and 70 people, men, women, and children, all sitting in there wanting to hear the Word of God. And when this preacher came from America, they wanted him to preach for 8 hours. I am going to issue a rebuke to us. We have it coming. We're not going to fault ourselves for being born here. This is where God has placed us. But what are we doing? You don't run around with your picket yelling, I'm against materialism. But just living your life is going to be an open, loud rebuke to people without you saying a word. Why don't you get a new truck? Because mine's running. Oh, but it's getting rust. It's getting older. When it quits, I'll ask God to help me find another good, cheap, used one. Oh, but you could apply for financing. I don't want financing. You talk about being chained. That's a chain. Any of you feel good about being in debt? Get back to me and tell me it feels good to be in debt to your house, your car, and all the other junk you bought. Aaron Rents. We got Aaron Rents out here. That's people that can't afford furniture. You can rent couches and sofas. My gosh, they won't go to the thrift store and buy a decent couch that hasn't been smoked, peed, or dog sat on, and you can get a couch for $50. But nope, they're going to go rent something. And then you can rent to own, which means you're going to pay more than the actual cost in the furniture store from whence it came. People are strange, man, and they look at me like I'm cuckoo because I'm not in step with that. Hey, I'll take it. But let's look at the people who are in debt with these new cars and the way they drive. Boy, they're not careful. They're not humble. Debt. The whole thing about debt is I've got to have it now. I'm not going to save and wait. Debt is a symbol of an undisciplined, got to have it now, consumeristic, consume it upon your lust culture. And let me tell you, those people are causing suffering for the rest of us. So in asking the question, why do you do this, God? Why is it you can intervene, you can change her? You say that the Holy Spirit comes to live with us in Ephesians 1 when we believe on Jesus Christ. She's claiming to be a Christian. How come she's not being convicted? It's a good question, Pacific, but I'm not going to answer it. Because what you need to realize is the fact I'm not doing what you want, that's what you need to key in on. Not the why, God, but the, okay, God, you know I don't like this baby. Why are you bringing this on me? Because I love you and I care, and it's not about your comfort. It's about you being persevering. You know what perseverance means? To persevere means to stay in it day in and day out. And what do we do in America? Ah, that job sucks, quit. Now this car's no good, throw it away and get a new one. Worse yet, We do it with people. You suddenly realize your wife farts just like you do, and you suddenly find every reason to get rid of her. Do you know the Pharisees were doing that? I'm using a modern day analogy because they didn't have toasters back then, but basically in the old days when Jesus walked the earth, that Pharisees would divorce their wife for burning the toast. Now to me that's ridiculous. That's a far cry from dealing with a combative, contentious woman who's in denial, who never believes she does wrong. That's tough to live with. But somebody who burned the toast, man, if she's good in every other way, I'll deal. I'll just say, you know what? We won't have toast anymore, babe. I love you. Throw the bread in the trash. I can't eat wheat anyway. You know, people in America are a TV dinner mentality, and that right there runs smack against suffering, because we want instantly delivered from our problems, just like we can instantly apply for credit, instantly walk into that new house, instantly walk into that new car. We can go to bed with a woman tonight instead of worrying about the long-term effects of having a relationship and being all committed. You can go have sex and, well, you know, she kind of smelled bad and, well, you know, I don't want to be with her. Yeah. Nice, huh? Why does God allow suffering? Because he is God. Because we sinned. We all sinned. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. It doesn't say some. I want all my men to listen very carefully to this. I want you to picture in your mind what you consider the hottest looking woman naked in your mind. And then picture her sitting on the toilet and taking a healthy dump, a bowel movement. And that'll give you some perspective. We don't do that, and women don't carry themselves like that. They walk around like they're hot. They poo on a porcelain throne just like you do. They're not goddesses, man. Because if they were God, they wouldn't smell, and that stuff wouldn't come out of their butt. I'm trying to make a point. None of us is good. None of us is perfect. That beautiful woman can have BO under her arm. She still grows hair under there. Even though she shaves it, it's still growing, and she stinks when she goes to the toilet. And there's other smells on women that aren't pretty that we're not going to talk about. And we got to get perspective. And guys stink too. Women don't think I'm ignoring that. I go to the store and some guy with a muscle shirt on, I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to go to the next register. Whoa, wow. Black student got on my bus, all muscle-bound arms. He had a sleeveless shirt on. He lifts his arm. I see the hair, see the white balls of deodorant stuck to his pit hair, and I can still smell the BO. And I'm like, that is just totally unattractive. None of us is pretty. None of us. Armpits aren't pretty except the clean and smooth ones on a hot-looking woman. But they got to work at that. They don't just get up in the morning and look like this. Those of you that are married can testify. That long hair that looks so perfect in the pictures, wait till they get out of bed and it's all tousled and messed up and their breath is kicking in your face and you see the stubble under their armpit and you go, huh, that's not what it looked like in the movie I just saw last night. Of course not. And that's a big lie of the devil's. All those images that you see in porn, all that stuff, you got to maintain, heavily maintain. And most women do not do that maintenance every single day. You marry your spouse, she'll go a week and say, well, shoot, it's winter. I don't have to shave under my arms. Nobody's going to see him anyway except my husband, and he loves me anyway. I love you, but you still got to get rid of that. I ain't going to kiss your underarm with all that stuff growing out of it. No. Even my friend the other day, talking to me on Skype and his girlfriend, and he says, you need to shave your legs right in front of me. I'm like, dude, stop that. Well, she is. They're all hairy. Why do I bring this up? Because I'm painting a picture of our flaws of American culture. They show those new shiny cars. Ride with me in the bus. After year, after they've been dented, banged into, turn signal broken out. And you go, wow, you paid $45,000 for that, and they wrecked the same as anything else. Big dent in the side, scrape marks, the front bumper, the rubber molding that extends down, the bottom's half hanging off and scraping on the ground. You paid $50,000 for a bunch of plastic with some thin aluminum can skin thickness metal on it. You're awesome, dude. No. We get caught up in this stuff. We get caught up in image. We get caught up in comfort. And God is trying to rock us out of that whole mentality and prepare us for heaven. And we don't like to talk about that, but until we get a glimpse of where we're really going and where we're headed, we're always going to be trying to build our little ziggurat, our little Tower of Babel right here. Can I tell you the biggest thing Pacific wrestles with? I want my way too. I want to go to work and enjoy my job. I want to save. I want to buy a house. I want to go to Asia. I want to do this. And yet, never does it dawn on me, what if God's will was to crush me and put me in a wheelchair because he thinks he can better use me there than right now where I'm at? We don't like to think of that, do we? What if you guys that married a trophy wife, your wife has breast cancer, and they have to cut one of them off? What do you do when your wife is in a traumatic auto accident and she's paralyzed and disfigured and can't speak, and an IV's running to her, and you suddenly have to take care of her? It sucks, doesn't it? Love is not tested in the good times. It's tested when the bottom falls out of your world. And so it is with God. We say we love God. Shine, Jesus, shine. And we're singing songs deep down inside saying, bless me, God, bless me, God, bless me all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a Christian open sleigh. And the sad thing is that if we really understood the Word of God, there's more written about suffering in the New Testament than there is about blessings. Because we live in a broken world with broken people making broken choices. Pacific makes broken choices. Let me tell you a contrast that's worth noting, okay? I'm going to share with you something I did that wasn't quite right. I pushed the envelope on my older Facebook, and I posted pictures of lesbian couples kissing. You know, they were nude, but that didn't show the stuff. And I'll tell you what, a lot of women in the States that were on there really gave me hell for that. Did you know that all my Asian friends saw that? They didn't think that was really a good thing to do, but they didn't reject me and pull themselves off their Facebook. One who is a godly woman said, you know, I love you, Michael, but you probably shouldn't post those pictures, and that's probably why your other site, they asked you for all this ID confirmation. You know, I didn't get mad at her because she lives a godly life, and I said, you know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. And women here in the country, they just check out. Oh, you're done. You've offended me. Bye-bye. Jesus didn't do that to you, lady, and he didn't do it to me, and you can just walk away. And my Asian friends didn't do that to me. They just figured, okay, Michael's going through some bumps here. And even one of them said, what has happened to you? Why have you changed? But she didn't get off my Facebook and block me. Secret Hobbies got on YouTube instead of confronting me and talking to me and saying, hey, I have some concern about this man. She gets on YouTube. I have unfriended him and I've not subscribing to him. How self-righteous, how unholy was that to handle it that way? It says, dare you have a matter, go to that person alone. And if he will not listen to you, bring two others. You didn't even follow that lady. I have no respect for Secret Hobbies. If she ever wants to apologize and get on equal footing again, that's fine. But I'm sorry I offended her by the photos, but she didn't tell me that. And she should have came to me. Because believe it or not, women think that because of my views that I'm not going to listen to a woman. I will listen to a woman if you handle yourself rightly. If you've got something to say and the Holy Spirit is speaking through you, and the Holy Spirit can speak through a woman to a man, Not her having authority over me, not her trying to teach, but the Spirit of God can use a sister in Christ to say, Pacific, I love you and I love your videos, but I think you're compromising here, and I'm going to tell you, could you not post that stuff? I know you struggle with this, but could you not? I'll tell you what, I'm going to be more receptive of that than some woman saying, you have no moral rectitude. Okay, people using words like that need to go away anyway. Sometimes I don't have moral rectitude, but sometimes you don't either. Let's see how Secret Hobbies drives her car every day. Let's see how people live in their other areas of their life that they're not having the camera on and seeing. That's the other part of this equation. It's okay to be offended at some. It's okay to say, oh, Pacific, I don't like that. But why don't you tell me? My Facebook now, totally different. Posting Asian watercolors, nice songs, scripture verses to nice photos, and we're keeping it right where it's supposed to be. Wholesome. And I like it. I want people, it's suddenly done on me, I want people to come to my site and feel like that's a breath of fresh air out of this stinky, dirty, violent world. In fact, I'm starting to tell myself, I don't even want to post some of these horrific news things where violent stuff. I don't want to post all that. I want my site to be a kind of like, you're in the city and you step out the city and you go into this park where there's this babbling brook and people just come in here and just sit down and go, oh, it feels so good to be on Pacific's page. It's so nice in here. I just feel encouraged, and I like the pictures, and I like this, and I like where he's going with this. And I try to post some nice music, the more less, the music that's more just good stuff. And it's not that I'm trying to create a rose-colored glasses site, but I realize, and I will tell my viewers, I still struggle with my sins. And we all have our sins. Some people get turned on by seeing two women kissing and pictures of that. Some people get turned on by seeing two men do it. Some people get turned on by materialistic consumer shop till you drop. I mean, we all have something that we struggle with, and we need to be careful that in our zeal for God on the one hand, that we don't become so self-righteous that we become hypocritical on the other. I've done it. I'm going to say something that's going to shock a lot of people. Posting the pictures was wrong because it is a stumbling block to others. So I was wrong for that. Posting is wrong because the Bible says there must not even be a hint of sexual immorality. I wish I could say that there wasn't that in my life. It's there. I'm not going out and having sex. That's one thing I can say. I've been dry since last early fall. And that's been a good thing. That's been a real good thing. And it feels good not to go out and do that. Now, that's not to say that if I started dating a girl, I wouldn't want to make out like a teenager and maybe have the hands. And you don't, that's wrong too. But we're getting there. I made a rule for myself, no intercourse. None. No pants down, no pants off. I'm stopping there. Stopping. That's it. Well, you need to go all the way and be pure. Of course I do. But it's better than where I was, because for years I just said, screw it, I'm going to do it. She wants to do it. Let's go. That got me out of a date with a very good-looking black girl. Saturday night in the truck, she told me, I'm so tired of guys that just want to have sex. And the next morning, they don't even call me. And all these men think about sex. I said, I'm not. I want a relationship. That's good. That's good. And then the next day, she tells me, well, sex isn't wrong, if you care about each other. And I was too dumb. I wondered the whole week why she didn't contact me, and I started rewinding the tapes. Remember what she said to you Saturday afternoon? Can I go home with you? You can't. I live with an older couple. I can't bring you here. Oh, I wish I could go with you. I was dumb. She wanted to get laid. Hello. I was really slow that day. Well, she probably expected me to say, hey, I can go rent a room and we can go do that. That's what they do in Denver now. That's very common. A lot of people they live with other people or whatever, so they'll go rent a motel room for the day or the evening and go over there and play. It's like, I don't want to rent a motel room. Tacky, cheap, No. My point is that me looking at pictures of two women kissing or a woman with her top off is not going to get somebody killed. Did you know that? You speeding in your car, you not using blinkers, you cutting 2 inches in front of a school bus, that can cause death and injury. And you sit there and say you have no conviction about that? There's something wrong with your convictor. Makes me wonder if the Holy Spirit even lives inside of you, because that right there should be a biggie. The problem in America is we weigh sin out based on, oh, I don't struggle with that, so therefore you that do are wrong, wrong, wrong. Now let's talk about your driving. Oh, come on, don't be so legalistic. Ride with me in my bus all day. Let me tell you a story about a woman in Duluth that there was a woman driver. She drove a minibus, and I would ride with her on her minibus to help with the Head Start children, but I wasn't paid for it. I just ride with her. We were allowed to ride with other drivers on their middays and stuff. Now you can't do that anymore. But back in Duluth, we could. And the driver said there's going to be a woman riding the bus. She ran my stop sign, and it went to court. And they said that she's had a bunch of traffic infractions, and she's so well off that they said finding her doesn't do any good. So they gave her community service, which included riding the school bus for the course of a month, twice a week or something. I got to know that woman. She's a very pretty woman, very nice dresser in Duluth, and I liked her. She was really nice. And you know, at the end of her thing, this is what she said. I will never run a school bus stop sign again. I look at these kids, they're so cute. I see what you guys have to deal with, and I had no idea what it's like from this perspective. And I looked her right in the eye and said, you've learned your lesson. How many people don't? And they might kill somebody. I said, ma'am, it's been so good to meet you, and I'm glad you've learned. And you know what? I don't judge you. You're a different person because of this. And I've often said they ought to make everybody drive school bus for 6 months before they can get a car license, just so they know what it's like out there. But the problem with Christianity in the U.S. is you can go from any number of churches. I'm reading about the Amish, the Mennonites, and the Hutterites, and they've got strict little rules depending on their communities. You can't drive a car. Some sects let people drive a car. You can use a tractor in your field, but it must have steel wheels. And you cannot be used for cultivating. You can't pull a wagon with people on it. I mean, rules upon rules. You cannot have electricity. You can't have flush toilets. You can't have a phone. And I go, does this really promote godliness? But when you get in your car and you're disobeying the rules on the road, that's godless. You're saying, I don't need to follow the traffic rules, even though the Bible says submit to the governing authorities. Pay respect to whom respect is due, taxes to whom taxes is due, tribute to whom tribute is due, honor to whom honor is due. The speed limits are laws in a city, in a precinct. And a cop has a right to ticket you if you forego those. Part of being a witness is we need to be obedient in all things. And if we're honest, we're not obedient in all things every minute of every day. For those of you that got a problem with driving, start looking at your speedometer. Start going, slow down. Move to the right lane, and if people get mad at you, so what? Don't be affected by traffic peer pressure. Oh, they'll hit me. If they hit you, it's their fault. I've never been hit because I went the speed limit, by the way. That's a lie. Sometimes just your influence out there can also cause people to be just a little bit more careful. People see the chrome or the aluminum rims on my truck, hear the engine, they see me go on the speed limit, they'll catch up to me, they'll suddenly slow down because they see my youth and they think, wow, he's going the speed limit, maybe there's a cop around. They might think I have a fuzz buster and can detect. It's not normal to see me with a shaved head and the hot-looking rims in my truck with the noise it makes, and I'm going the speed limit. Some people look at that and go, I better slow down. We're supposed to be salt. I'm supposed to be salt. And some days I'm not very salty. Some days I'm not a very good witness. But if you're honest, all of us on any given day could not be a good witness. We all Christians need our diapers changed. All of us. And I like that Pastor said that. That kind of humbles me and makes me realize, we're all the same, folks. When I say we're all the same, I'm not saying we're all exactly the same. We're all the same in the context that we all sin, we all struggle with sin, we're all growing, we all got a long way to grow. I don't say go, long way to grow. And God's preparing us for eternity. He's not preparing us for the new house and the new SUV. He's preparing us for eternity. And if we get that in our mind, we'll find that we could stop wasting so much money on unnecessaries. The most freeing thing is to say to my ex, you know what, take the $860, forget it. Because then I don't have to stress, oh, she's not paying it back, oh, she's not paying it back. Just give it to her. She's not going to get it. But God's going to bless me for letting go of some things and just saying, you know what, God, I'm trying to be nice to her. I'm trying to do this. I don't know her a thing the way she's treated me. Please speak to her. And maybe what we need to start asking ourselves when bad things happen to you, and the fact that God doesn't intervene and do what you think he ought to do, that's where you should fall on your knees and say, okay, God, you're not taking this away. That means you want me to go through this. I don't like it. It's okay to tell him that. I think this stinks, as Pastor said. But can I tell you something? This will shock my viewers. I'm glad I stayed. I don't like all this constant stuff. Every time I get a text from her, I'm like, oh, what now? There's times I want to take my phone, open my bus window. When I get back to work, I've turned off my bus and I'm sweeping. I want to open the driver's window and throw it. Yeah, you want to talk to me? Talk to that. I'm not even going to pick it up. I'm tired of all the problems and the drama you're making, X. But you know what? I've stayed. I've dealt with it. I'm doing everything I can, and I can't change it. I can't change them. But God is changing me through it. He's giving me stick-to-itiveness. When Pacific has run so many times, I'm not banned on the run. And watching both of them, no matter what they say and what they got going through their mind, he's skipping the counseling. He's skipping school. He won't face me. Backs up, blah, 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 and then leaves. They know. This last Friday, did you take the phone away? If not, when are you going to? And why did you not take it? Voicemail and text. Won't answer me. Who's running? Who's avoiding? Who's standing there even though he wanted to get out of here last year? Who's the stronger person? Who is God doing a work in whose life? It's not happening in my son. It's not happening in my ex. It is happening in Pacific. Praise his name. Trials suck, but they make us mature. Trials suck, but they shake us out of our complacency. And if we let them, they would put materialism and consumerism all in its place, and you'll suddenly go, you know what? The only reason I'm buying all this crap is I'm trying to fill some stupid little hole in my life that I'll never fill. I don't need this stuff. Save your money. You never know what God may bring your way, and you have a little cushion. Save it. Try to discipline yourself. And then when you save a certain amount, keep saving some more. Don't be hard. Go out to lunch. Go take a woman out. Go take your friend out. That's good things. Somebody asked if they could borrow this week. $50. And I did. Today I'm going to tell them, don't pay me back. You're going through a lot of hard stuff. Just consider it a gift. You know what's happening to me? We hold so tenaciously to that. Well, I earned this. This is mine. When we let go, God just continues to dump his blesser right on us. I'm not saying that for us to outgive God, but I do try to tithe. And when I say try, I'm going to tell you what I do. I'm going to tell my viewers what I do about tithing. I don't call it tithe. I call it that because that's what everybody in the church calls it. Because it's not an offering. I give out of my paycheck, and it's around 10%. But I don't do the exacting. Like, say the check is $550. I don't sit there and go, oh, $550 and how many out of the cents? The first number that comes to mind, $50. That's roughly 10%. I don't sit there and go, oh, $55 and 0.01 cent. I don't do that. There are some Christians that do that, and they feel real good about that, but that, to me, is ridiculous. I go by the first number to come into my head, because anything else is arguing. Oh, that's too much. I don't want to give that. There's times it's been more. When the Philippine thing came down, I was at Frozen Chosen Baptist. I shot, what, $100, $200 in that? The Tacloban, the typhoon. I thought $100. I got to give something. The Philippines, Asia is my thing. I need to do something. That's my heart. I'm not grandstanding. I'm not letting my left hand know what my right is doing. I'm giving to my viewers that I don't sit there and split hairs over tithing and offerings and this and that. There's a difference between tithes and offerings. Tithe is your percentage in keeping with your income that you set aside to God. The offering is something you give that's above and beyond that. It may be for your church to expand its sanctuary because it's overcrowded and they've got to add some more room. That could be an offering. I do believe that Christians should give to the work of the Lord. I believe Christians that use an excuse for not giving, and I'm not talking about Joel Osteen's church and the televangelists. Don't go to those places. Don't just not give to them. Don't go there. Don't fund those charlatan, false prophet heretics. Find a church with a pastor who's living a fairly blameless, above reproach life. Husband to his wife, got his children under control, and is trying to declare the word of God and is real and kind to all the people there. But if he's driving Cadillacs and got solid gold chains on and making $200,000 a year, your tie doesn't belong there and your butt doesn't belong in that church. Yes, I said it. That's my express opinion. All these people want to go to these big mega churches, and I tell Christians, get out of those. What is the purpose of that? Go to the small church. I'm going to tell you, as long as I'm alive, I will never love suffering. But you know what? Something has made me feel tougher since I've stayed. There's a boldness rising up in me. A boldness that's going to say, you know what, I love you, son, but I'm not going to keep silent anymore. I'm done with this. I've given you how many months, watched you. I've watched this play out. I'm going to say what you need to hear, and if you don't like it and you want to run and hide, then hide. But don't blame me. Viewers, perseverance makes us more mature. Perseverance gives me more boldness. I've needed that. I've been running for a long time. I didn't want to come back to the U.S. from Hong Kong. I knew what I had over there. I had girls. I had popularity. People liked me, sing and dance. I could have carried on with that ride if I'd had enough money in the bank to just sit on my butt in Hong Kong. But was that producing in me maturity? Was that producing in me perseverance and godliness and holiness? No. It's easy street, man. Sit in a karaoke bar, sing, and have pretty women gripping both your arms. Come on. I hate Denver. Not geographically, but people-wise. This city sucks. I can't drive anywhere without people driving like maniacs and rudeness. I mean, not just passing me, but no signals, endangering, almost hitting me. It's ridiculous. And I think this stupid country just doesn't get it. Their priorities are so wrong. It is so godless. Even among Christians, their pursuits are just childish. Back to the question of why God. Do you think Job knew the answer We get to read what happened, and Job didn't have that benefit. God didn't come down and said, hey, Satan's questioning my goodness, and I'm going to let all this stuff come on you, bro. You just hang in there and be strong, man. No, Job didn't get that. He didn't get a play-by-play. We do. But what do we do when we go through something? And none of us in America has gone through anything like Job. None. And guess what we do? God, help me, help me, help me, help me. And it's all self-centered prayers. Deliver me, exonerate me, vanquish my foes. We're not very godly. It's all self-motivated. It's all self-centered. And I'm guilty as charged. Deliver me from this problem. God says, no. That part would be easy. But you won't learn anything. I don't know why God allows other people claiming to be Christians to do the things they do that cause madness and this thing that isn't causing any resolution to just go like this. But you know what? He let Nebuchadnezzar become like a cow out in the field munching green stuff, and his finger and toenails growing out like claws. And then one day God finally came down and said, okay, you acknowledge me. We're done being a beast. Now you can go back, and reign in your palace. I have to tell myself that experientially, and knowing God the way I do, there is a season. There's winter, and winter's awful, but spring's a-coming. This stuff I'm going through with them, there's going to be a day when I won't go through this with either one of them anymore. It could be when I go to bed tonight and end up in heaven. Oh, I'd love that. Walk the streets of gold, be up there with Jesus and go, oh, wow. I don't have to put up with any of her garbage anymore. God could take both of them out of this world. My son could get arrested. That solves that whole problem because then I don't have to deal with her or him. I love my son, but I don't like stress. I don't like drama. I don't like all these problems. And I'm using my story as an illustration. You've got something you're going through. Let's talk about my friend in Vermont. I saw his apartment on Skype, cute old 2-bedroom apartment. His ex-wife is horrible. She's been punching him and beating him for years. This happened a couple weeks ago. An argument ensued. She started in again, and he just simply pushed her. She's twice his size, big, fat, obese, obnoxious, uncouth woman. Just blurts whatever comes to her mind, kind of like my cousin's wife. Just no filter. And when he pushed, his hand slipped and made a little scratch on her neck. She called the police. Police came. He had scratches all over his arms from her hitting and clawing at him, and they did not care. How fair is that? The justice system just favors the females, and the justice system is so retarded that they don't realize females have changed. They know how to work this baby, and they're punching and beating on men and setting themselves up. The Bible says, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but women are provoking children to wrath. That principle applies to all of us. That goes for me in traffic. It is tempting when somebody does something to just want to hold that horn down for the entire duration of that light. But then I'm provoking somebody. It's one thing to say, bonk, and let off. Hey, I'm acknowledging you just did a turdy thing. But if you hold it down, then they're going to get mad. Then they get wrathful. Then things can get ugly. And that's how road rage starts. But it's true of us as people. If you don't like somebody, get away from them. Don't go up and go poke, 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 poke. Because they might bring a gun and blow your brains out. We got to use some wisdom. But he told me that a friend of his at work the other day came up to him and said, hey, can I get those books back? A female friend that you borrowed. He goes, well, I'm not allowed to go over to my house. I've been ordered to stay away from my son. He has a very close relationship with his 17-year-old son. Thank God he's only got a year left to deal with her because he's 17. When he's 18, he's cut. He's not even divorced yet. He's ordered to pay her $200 a month for 3 months, and one or both of them have to file for divorce in order for anybody to get any money. So nobody files for divorce. Vermont will not allow any more payment. I said, good, make her file for divorce, make her get the attorney and pay for that. And I said, I'll bet you she won't, and then you won't have to pay, and you wait until he's 18, then you file for divorce, and you're out of it. I've met the woman, I've met her, and I've tried to be nice to her, but she is a piece of work. She hates my channel. She used to joke, 101 ways to hate American women. No, that's not what this is about. She embodies everything I talk about on my channel. Offensive, feminist, punching, hitting men, thinking that's okay. And not once does it dawn on her. But the friend went to her. He told her, I can't go to my wife. I've been ordered to stay away. You can go to her and ask her. And she said, oh, I threw all his Bibles and Christian books in the trash. He told me that yesterday, and I called him and I said, you've got legal recourse on that one. You call your attorney, tell him that this is what your friend said, see if your friend will write a written statement, and your attorney will bang on her door and say, where are those books? That'll cut into her $200 real quick. Women are evil. You can't just throw somebody's stuff away. He hasn't had a chance to get all his stuff out of there. You can't do that. This woman is awful. He had to turn in his car that he had just purchased. They both got cars. He dropped her insurance the other day and thought, well, you know what? I'm not paying for her insurance and her Wi-Fi and her cable. He traded his car and downsized for a smaller or lower costing car where he gets $50 more a month and the car's less of a payment. And I said, that was wise thinking. I said, you're going to be able to make it. He said, oh, I will, but it's going to be tight. Why did God allow that to happen to him? He's been punched and punched and punched and punched. And one of his female friends was by him. I said, let me talk to your friend. And I told her, lady, I just want to tell you thank you for being there for my friend. She immediately said, that woman is horrible. She's a monster. She's atrocious. She's awful, what she's done to him. And I said, I know. And my friend, even though he's going through the hard stuff and got ordered to pay her $200 a month for 3 months, I said, boy, that's not even fair. People at work, they both work in the same workplace, and he's been allowed to work in there because that is his place of employment. She said in the courtroom the other day, your son doesn't want to see you. This son plays tennis with him, and they do things every day together. And he said, do you think that's true? I said, I don't know. Teens are fickle. I have no idea. His older son, who lives out, won't call him. Son's wife won't call him. He has been dealt a bad, unfair, unjust blow. And the system in America that is so pro-female is allowing a complete hypocritical situation to pass through the night where the man is framed and she isn't. All those scratches on his arms don't mean a darn thing to the police. Just this one little nick that's a quarter in length. I'm going to tell every man on my channel, if a woman hits you, call the police. Don't touch her. File charges. American men need to stand up because women are violent and women are doing things, and men, out of fear of their pride or admitting they got struck by a woman, stop it. The only way we're going to get feminism pushed back against the wall is if we men start leading and say, you don't have the right to hit me either, broad. No way. I told somebody at work one day, women want equality. If a woman comes up and attacks me, I will do everything I can to kill her. Because I am not going to stand there and take it. They want equality. They want to hit me unprovoked, attack me. I'm going to attack back and defend myself. Women in America are awful funny. Not the ones on my channel. They're good people. The ones that don't like my channel need to be prayed for. Don't you like the arrogance in me there? I mean that. I mean it, though. Women that don't like what I have to say on my channel aren't the kind of woman I want to be with anyway. Women that can handle my channel, they're listening to truth. That doesn't mean I'm saying I'm perfect. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not. I'm not always a good example, but we talk truth here. And for my viewers, please pray for my male friend. It's not fair what's happening, but he's got a pretty good attitude. He's a non-violent man. Somebody threatened to kick his butt at work, some gay guy that had a problem, and he went and didn't threaten him. He wrote it up, and the next day he was fired. Not my friend, but the guy who threatened him. He is a very pacifist individual. And I was talking to him on Skype, and I felt sad. I thought, that's just wrong what she's done to him. For all these women that complain about how terrible men are, I opened my Facebook, and one of the people that's on my Facebook who I work with is posting all this victim stuff. I've learned I can't trust anybody, so I just need to be a friend to myself because I can only trust me. And I want to say, no, you need to trust Jesus. And I saw sayings after sayings all post about woe is me, society sucks, I'm a victim. And I want to write her and say, you know what? And she had written one thing that said something like, when a woman stops complaining about you or I can't remember how it was written. That means she probably doesn't care. And I typed in there, I said, or else she's a complete chronic nag. Why is it women always think they're the better of the sexes and men are always the ones guilty? And this woman has had boyfriend after boyfriend and got pregnant outside of marriage and has a kid who's a real handful to deal with and has all of her habits and cleanliness or lack of hygiene issues. And I sit there and go, what is it about women in this country that just don't have an accurate view of themselves? And you go, Pacific, what does this have to do with suffering? It has to do with suffering because we're living in this country with these godless ideologies out here, and those are causing problems for all of us. When we don't do things God's ways, it's like tipping a domino over, and it hits every single one down the line. But God is sovereign. Could I be taken out tomorrow? Could something horrible befall me? Yes. I don't like that, and that does bother me in my core. And the reason it bothers me is because deep down inside, if we're honest, we all have our idea of what we want to pursue. We have our agenda, and God has to rip that out of us and say, I'm not here to give you your agenda. I'm here to get you to become closer to me, to glorify me, and I want to move and work through you. Pacific admits that I struggle with my own strong will, even as a Christian, that I don't want to think about that God could do whatever he needs to do to get me to a point of full submission to him, but he never forces. He wants me to love him no matter what. When we start questioning God's fairness, we better start questioning our love and start saying, do we equate love with how nice somebody is to us? Did you know it's okay to admit that God hurt you? He's going to. God is going to do things in your life where you're going to go, God, this isn't fair. This is so mean. Sometimes God is mean because to get you where you need to be, he's going to press in. I don't like that reality. I'm sorry, but we don't have a Pepsi God where he pulls a pop top and says, here's a soft drink, man. His glory is at stake. He sent his son to die so that we could have eternal life, and we have nothing else. We should rejoice in that alone, but we don't. We want more, and we want more for this temporary life. We want complete physical and fleshly fulfillment that can never be gotten. If you've noticed something about the Bible says the eye never has enough of seeing, the ear never has enough of hearing. And you got to eat food every day. You can't just drop it in there and go on that for 40 days and 40 nights. Elijah did, but that's rare circumstances, miraculous things. Suffering sucks. But the bottom line is God is doing it for a reason. And the fact that he doesn't answer your prayer the way you think he ought to, you better start looking at that and saying, okay, he wants me to go through it, and you submit. And yes, we have to rejoice, and I'm not very good at that. I don't rejoice when I'm suffering. I don't say, wow, God, thanks, this is awesome. Thank you that it was payday. Thank you that it was Friday. Thank you that my friend who went to the hospital is okay. What if she wasn't? When I went over to see her yesterday, she said, yeah, I actually had blurry vision and everything. I said, whoa, I hope you're not getting the signs of a stroke. The only way we're going to survive without coming apart at the seams is we got to start with the belief that God is good and that God is the judge, not us. Who are you, oh man, to talk back to God? Who are you, oh man, to judge God? We are not able to judge God. We do not put him on trial. But we do, and I do. Rabbi Kushner said on a documentary that the book of Job is not to be taken literal. It was all allegory. That is a lie. Rabbi Kushner is not born again. Rabbi Kushner does not have the authority and does not have the seal or endorsement by God, the Father, the Holy Spirit, or Jesus Christ to even talk about matters of theology. Just because you're a rabbi, it doesn't mean you know squat. Job was a literal book about a literal man and about a literal calamities that befell him because there were things going on in the heavenly realms that Job wasn't even aware of. Neither were his three friends. Same thing with us. Things God allows in our life, we don't have all the answers, and to try to find them is fruitless. The only answer we can get is God is allowing this to happen in my life because he's trying to mature me. I'm sorry, but if I was living on an Asian island with brown-skinned women leaning all over my shoulders every day, massaging me, stroking my hair, bringing me food, saying, oh, we love you, is not going to bring me closer to the throne of God. It's not. It is suffering. It is suffering. It is suffering. It is hardship. It is trial. It is false accusations. It is persecution that brings us closer to him. When we're comfortable, we drift away from him. When we're in the need, when the storms hit and our boat's about to sink, we cry out to him. If you cannot get that in your head, Christianity is not about pie in the sky by and by. It's not about your best life now. Joel Osteen is a false prophet. He will be rebuked by God. He will be held accountable by God, and he's fleecing the flock of God with his poison toxic theology. Those of you that are Christians have no business listening to him except to point out his errors. If you want a Joel Osteen Christianity, you're not going to make it. It's not about us, and the sad thing is we think it is over and over and over. I do. It says in the Bible, it pleased God to crush his son. Pleased him. Don't ask me to make sense of that. But you don't get grape juice. You don't get olive oil until they're crushed. Those of us that are not physically handicapped are at a big disservice because we run around, we got our strength, got our agenda, we do our thing. Those that are in wheelchairs, they know that they have nothing to boast about, that they depend on. Those that are Christians in wheelchairs, they have to depend on him. And so do we. My very next breath comes from him, and he could cut off that oxygen supply. He could stop my heart. He could have an aneurysm go through Pacific's brain and done. So the next time you start suffering, ask yourself a couple questions. Did you bring it upon yourself? Were there actions you did that brought this? If you went 80 miles an hour in a 25 zone, ran a stop sign and hit somebody, and now you're going to court and you're filing bankruptcy because they're suing you, well, that's your own fault, buddy. But what do you do about things that aren't your fault? You're trying to do what's right. You're just getting nailed. Ex-wife, a son, your employer falsely accuses you. How do you look at stuff like that? You try to figure it out. It's human to try to do so, but what I would do is go home, get on your knees, and say, I don't know why this is happening, God, but the fact you're not eliminating it out of my life tells me you want me to learn something. Please help me to have the right attitude in the middle of all this. Because in my flesh, I'm not really happy about this at all. Sorry about the yawning. It's Sunday afternoon. It's my day of rest. And I try to give you a Sunday sermon. So instead of asking why, God, say, why not, God? Why not? Why should I be exempt just because I'm your child from suffering when people far more godly than me really got it tough? What about ISIS beheading people? They're not thinking about their next SUV payment and their trip to Starbucks. They're living in a Middle East country in abject terror. What about them? They didn't choose to be born there. They just were born there and grew up there and got saved, and they're going to pay the price for that salvation. But they're going to get a martyr's crown. We in the U.S. need to pull up our baby pants. Pull-ups. I mean, we are babies. We whine about all the inconveniences we go through over here. Oh, yes, first world problems. One Christian said, trials are my friends. Fox's Book of Martyrs. Some of those people, when they were dying, embraced their death and said, oh, God, this flame that licks me, I will be transported to be in your presence. How did they do that? I'd be like, oh, yeah. This is how am I going to get through this one? It hurts. I challenge every one of my viewers, male and female, go get a copy of Fox's Book of Martyrs and read it. I'm going to be very direct in what I say. Most of today's American Christian women aren't going to waste their time with that. That's way too uncomfortable for them and their addiction to cell phones, Starbucks, SUVs, and their pet worship. You need to read it. Because this thing that you're going through now, America's not always going to be all about you and your world. One day things are going to come hard, and it's going to come crashing down on you, ladies. Everything's a season, and your season of material blessing will not always be that way. There's a lot of countries out there that hate us. There's a lot of people that hate us. And I'll tell you what, we have turned our backs on God, and it's only a matter of time before God pulls the rug right out from under the bottom of this place. So instead of asking why God let that plane crash, why don't you start asking, why does he let planes fly and make it safely every day when pilots aren't doing their pre-trip, when mechanical people are sloughing on their duties, and there's things that could have gone wrong that didn't? Maybe you ought to start asking that. Why does he let so many idiot drivers run red lights and not hit anybody? I mean, I can't believe how much stuff I see in the day. It's like, I can't believe that guy didn't just get in an accident. If I'd have done that, God's got a short leash on the child of God. Thank God for that. Something to think about. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.